Dude, welcome back to the fucking party cast. I got my boys Logan, Blake, and Scott back again because they are continuous contributors to the show, and they always blow my mind. That's why I've gotten back on the show. Today we talk about everything paranormal. We've got some alien encounters. We've got some very interesting paranormal stuff and more to come as far as like Skinwalker Ranch and all that kinds of stuff. It's just a fucking blast with these dudes in the show. Blast on the cast. Make sure that you subscribe to Channel 99 on any one of your favorite platforms. We do have a YouTube channel. Make sure you watch on YouTube if you're interested in see how we actually look when we react to some of the crazy shit that's said on this podcast. And give us 5 stars. Share the episode because you know the shit's badass. And the most important thing for me is to leave you with a little message to have a wonderful rest of your day.
Shut up and sit down.
I just hit start. So I want to welcome everybody out to the show. Thank you, the listeners, for tuning in to Channel 99. I've got Blake, Scott, Logan, my boys, continuous guests on this show. And
I'm still alive from the last one.
You're still alive. The aliens didn't get you.
They didn't get me. I was thinking they were going to, but the time has not happened yet.
The CIA is brainwashing our cows, man. It's coming.
Don't even get us started, right? Don't even get us started.
Freaking dude, I met.
Well, I just last night I watched Hunt for the Skinwalker. And are you familiar? You're familiar with Skinwalker Ranch, right, Logan?
I think so.
Paranormal.
That kind of seems like you're
I've
not familiar with that because that sounded like you were not.
No,
well,
I've heard of skinwalkers from like Idaho City and shit. Like people. Okay, so the only thing that I've really heard on skinwalkers are some kind of beings.
Shapeshifters.
Oh, okay. Shapeshifters I know about, but like skinwalkers are a different entity that go and like actually take the skin. Like, for example, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in a different dimensional way, you know what I mean? And there's okay, so let's just go as far as saying it's an alien coming down, but they basically take people's skin and wear it to blend in with humans.
Oh yeah, no,
okay?
I get it.
Okay, there's examples of that from like Idaho City and shit. If you go and there's hitchhikers, there's been stories or accounts where people pick up these hitchhikers and they ended up killing them and taking their skin and like walking to call them skinwalkers. So,
well,
that's all
I
I've
think
heard about that. But
well,
shapeshifter is different.
Well, the skinwalkers I'm talking about are more or less related to the indigenous people of North America. So, like Skinwalker Ranch is in the Uinta Basin in Utah, and there was a guy, Bigelow Aeronautics, and he's a billionaire. And essentially, what happened was he bought this ranch because the family who had owned it beforehand was having some really, really weird paranormal activity. And by that, it's UFO activity. And by that, I mean unidentified flying objects. They also had different experiences with like a dire wolf that came up to them, and this guy plugged like 2 or 3 shots of a 357 Magnum in this thing, and it didn't stop. And it just very interesting. Well, anyways, I don't know if it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, but oh no, I actually got it from Popcorn Time. Popcorn Time has Popcorn Time is basically Netflix for pirates. It's the like newest thing on. So if you have Apple and you have anything Android, and especially if you have Microsoft, go ahead and download Popcorn Time, because you can download the greatest, newest movies that are in theaters right now, full HD. I'm just gonna pull a plug right there. But long story short, I watched this movie, and I've seen a lot about Skinwalker Ranch. I didn't know as much about it as I did after having watched the documentary, but essentially they believe it might be a portal. So, dude, super interesting. They see a lot of Bigfoot, a lot of cattle mutilation. There were some very well documented things, and these are PhDs, doctorates going in there and like doing these types of surveys and observations and documenting it. What really trips me out is when you look at the most recent publications, which is within the last week, they talk about how the researchers at Skinwalker Ranch, which this documentary is based on, and some other documentaries and some books, they say that it seemed like the entities were always a step ahead of them. They could never record them. They could never observe it with a different eye, essentially, meaning like it was mostly, a lot of the times these things happened, it was only in front of one person. Nobody could validate it. They never repeated themselves. And it kind of jumps back into what we geeked on last week, which is, are we pre-programmed? And are these, what I was thinking was, if we're pre-programmed, if we are literally neuralinked and we have no idea we're within a certain type of a matrix, could these be certain viruses? Could they be hacks? That's what I was geeking on. I was like, let's think about it on that level, like multidimensional. And you have to see this. You have to see this documentary, Hunt for the Skinwalker. There's like so much information that's divulged. They're like, and it'll completely change your perception on reality. Like I said, these are people who are credible. They don't want to be named, but on that documentary they talk about, there was 4 of us and we watched a yellow light, and you can even get on YouTube and Google like alien vortex, multidimensional vortex, and you'll see certain videos. 2011, if you tag 2011 vortex, you'll find a vortex over Russia, and it literally looks like there's stars being sucked into a vortex, and this is legit, and it shows it from multiple angles. And these PhDs, these guys who are studying for this Bigelow program, they said that as 4 of them sat there and watched, they saw a yellow light turn into a circle, which turned into almost a vortex, like a hole. They said that it looked completely different on the other side, and a shadow literally crawled out, and it stood up and ran away, and the vortex closed. And these are people who are credible. Obviously they don't want their professions to be jeopardized by what they'd seen, because that's some heavy shit, man. Like that's crazy. Who wants to fucking think about that? Nobody, dude. That's on a completely different level. And like, for me to have, like, when I heard that, when I was listening to this, and I was watching this was last night, and I was watching it, and I thought about it, and I was like, dude, that's some shit that I've actually
I got some
I don't want
right
to talk
here for
about
you.
it, man. It's gonna freak me out, but that's some shit that I've actually kind of experienced, dude.
Dude, I got some shit that goes with that, and there's like, it really goes into like an in-depth thing that would take like a long time for me to try to explain. I mean, we've talked a little bit off the mic about it, certain experiences for me, but there has been scientists and different people that have been able to figure out that certain frequencies can open up certain and certain portals or certain vortexes or manipulate water. They have even somewhere that you can hit a certain frequency. Water will actually sit up above the ground and levitate and change different like shapes and just maintain. And it has a lot to do with frequency. Like our world has just so much in-depth shit towards frequency. And there's a video where people are able to take an energy converter or vibrational frequency converter and use a certain type of frequency and open up a portal. And they have it on YouTube now. And it's literally like a little box that emits a certain frequency, and then all of a sudden if you hit it, it turns the matter in that area into a portal, and the yellow light, and all of a sudden it goes into a circle, and you look through it and it's bright on the other side. It's a different area,
Different sky.
different sky, different everything. And I'm just saying, there's a lot of shit that goes in with that, bro. Like,
has anybody
crazy.
here heard of Coral Castle in Florida? There's this guy, old man, tuberculosis, super old. He claimed to have known the secrets of the Egyptians. And if you look into Coral Castle, these are huge stones. I'm talking like tons and tons and tons. And he only worked at night. And the only consistency that anybody could recollect was that he had a black box. And what they believe is that box contained the secret to reverse gravitational pull. And that allowed him to levitate. There were a few kids who stumbled upon him late at night working. And what he claimed is that during the daytime, he said that he was moving these stones with like a giant pulley system. Well, when you look at the pulley system, it actually cannot sustain some of the weight in which those blocks weighed. So years later, these kids came out and they claimed to have seen him at about 2 o'clock in the morning outside by himself with lights on. And these stones were literally, he was raising his hands and he was levitating the stones. And what interests me about that is if you look at the size, like I'm talking 10 tons, and that's 20,000 fucking pounds. And this is an old man who had somehow overcome tuberculosis. And you can look it up, man. This is like legit. This is like completely documented shit. When you look it up, this guy kind of like, he had some type of knowledge. Like there was something that he was connecting to that allowed him to transmit and to be able to do what he did. It's an amazing accomplishment, regardless of whether or not he did it with machinery or not. It was with coral rock, but I mean, it's phenomenal. So it's very interesting. And you think about, you know, these former I don't know, these super old cultures, and when you align them with when they're supposed to be, you know, traditionally categorized within that type of time frame, and then you look at alternative historians and you see their arguments, they are very what do you call it? They're very what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out. I got 3 people here.
Like more advanced.
Well,
than
no,
what we thought
they're
than
very
they were?
very convincing. That's the word I'm looking for. Like the argument now against traditional history is very, very convincing. When you look at people who have written, like, have you listened to Fingerprints of the Gods or read the book which talks about just history and the follow-up on the book on that. He's got a sequel to that. But God, I'm drawing blanks here. But no, it's just very interesting the way that we're told our history is, and now things are coming out. Mars has water. The moon has water. They're not coming out with things that they told us was not. They've been 100% certain there's no atmosphere on the moon. There's no atmosphere on Mars. They recently came out with an article that said, in years past, Mars could have been an habitable place for underground dwelling types of intelligent life. Well, no shit. Think about Alex Jones, who is just fucking confirmed by Elon Musk. I don't even want to get into that because everybody who's listening right now can listen to our last podcast. But what blows my mind is there are conspiracy theories out there that talk about these underground habitations, environments where there's habitats where people live, and and NASA and everybody's denied it, but now we're coming out. Every time I get online and I go to these alternative news websites, I read something about how, to me, it feels like a conditioning. It feels like they're conditioning us for something soon. I think something's coming, man. Like,
careful what you're saying right now.
Well,
bro.
like, not crazy, but what I'm saying is,
no, I'm
like,
not saying that. Like, I'm just saying, like, there could be some truth to that, and there could be
think
some,
about it.
I know there.
We've got a space force. Why the fuck do we need a space force? Why do we need to protect ourselves in space? Unless there's something like, yeah, okay, the Russians might have spaceship, but we had space wars with Reagan. We spent billions of dollars on the space wars with Reagan. We've got like so many different things, but why now? Like, if you think about the environment that we're in, it's very hostile. It's extremely hostile. And then if you think about it, when it comes to the crypto side, we're starting to encroach on the native land, in my opinion, of like the Bigfoot, and what I believe is they're native tribes that have been untapped. That's right after one of our presidents of the United States talked about it in his autobiography. They literally created like our Federal Reserve System where they've got our federal parks, and those are the places that typically don't get touched, right?
We gotta be careful, bro.
Yeah,
like
my dog's tapped out.
No. Like I said, gotta be careful what we say, man.
I think about it like, so people as a general, like in a general consensus, think a lot differently than because when a lot of this came into play, like think about like back into the 50s and 60s with like Eisenhower and JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson and stuff like that. When we like sent a man to the moon, that's what we're told anyway, somebody went to the moon. That's when they started like testing the waters to see if like the general population could actually handle that much information that essentially undoes thousands of years of people believing in certain things. And like the more liberal way of thinking has become the more popular way of thinking in the last 20 years, especially with shit like the internet. So with the entire general populace of Earth having literally unlimited knowledge at their fingertips, it's only a matter of time before somebody finds something. So they're probably in a way just like you said, it's like a conditioning. Like it's like getting us prepared for
ready.
something.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this shit for years, bro. Like
so many conspiracies. Conspiracies though, right? About the Hollywood conditioning.
Dude, I mean, just all of it in general is tied together. I mean, my best advice to people is just like a joke or a sarcastic remark, all right? There's going to be some truth behind it, right?
Totally.
And if you look at to what information's being allowed to be in the public eye, has to have some kind of truth. It may not be the full truth.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know, the moon landing, they went up there, but the actual footage they showed could have been a little bit different.
But did
they could have done that because they didn't know if what was going to be up there. It was the first time they're going to be up there, for crying out loud. If something went wrong or something else, they can't throw that on live video and watch the entire country go into chaos because, oh my gosh, they went up there and all of a sudden either something weird happened or they met another entity, because at that point in time as well, people's mentality in a lot of science fiction and stuff was coming into play.
But they still couldn't handle it.
And they couldn't handle it. We had a bunch of people that were sitting there throwing freaking books. I mean, I remember like censorship and stuff like that. Like, it was so dominant towards a religious viewpoint versus a scientific viewpoint or a logistic viewpoint. Oh, yeah. Taking a step back and looking at the possibilities that could have happened or could have gone wrong. Not a lot of people can handle it. A lot of people can't even handle horror movies. I don't like scary movies, bro. Yeah. Like that type of stuff, like I can handle it to a degree, but there's, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Now imagine watching something live.
Yeah. Think about it this way. Like, if you think, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, if I was the richest, most powerful person in the world, like, at that point, I essentially control everything, right? Mm-hmm. So the best way to control a group of people is to control what they know. Limit what they know, and you essentially always have the upper hand. Or you're always one step ahead, just like the skinwalkers.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, though, is like, I know a lot about the skinwalkers or shapeshifters or all that kind of stuff. It goes in and there's hidden truths throughout history that have pointed to these beings that have literally done that. And I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because I don't know what's going to get me taken off the map or not. But, I mean...
That's what I'm afraid of, too.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, it's nerve-wracking for me personally or other people. Well, for me and my experiences, if I feel like I say too much, I might get in trouble. And, like, that's kind of also instilled into the public and certain people's mindset is like society can't speak too much on truth because if the truth gets out, shit's going chaos. Well,
think about it this way, like back to the most powerful person in the world. Like, what groups of people have the most money and the most power over a general group of people? Like,
well, I know who they are, but I'm not gonna say it.
Well, I mean, like, think of it like a religious standpoint. Like, for years, people have been saying, like, the origins of the world and such are like in the Vatican somewhere. Like they've had written text for centuries. Like, we don't know how far back that goes. We don't know the origin of that. Were you there? I wasn't there. Like, just got to think about it in that sense. But look how much money they make, tax-free money, mind you, because religion. Look at how much money they make by controlling what people know. Look at how much money they make by literally just drilling what they want people to believe into essentially naive minds.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy. It's religion and a blind faith is probably the only thing in our world that actually stops us from slipping into anarchy, because people always have that one badass thing that they can always turn to, no matter how like far-fetched it seems. Like, it's always something they can turn to because they always believe that it's there.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And it's like those things are so cliche, but they're also got truth behind it because, dude, for all we know, like, everyone's been talking about this could be a simulation and no one knows about it. Or it could be, like, as far as what historical texts have told us, you got angels, demons, dark entities, positive entities, all that type of stuff.
It's just what we're conditioned to know.
Exactly. And if you look at it at a scientific level or like a mindset of like possibilities are endless and this could be a certain way, it can kind of guide you to the truth. Like, if you look at different cultures and stuff like that throughout history, if they're talking about the same thing, there might be a possibility.
A correlation somewhere.
Yeah, there's some congruence.
Everyone talks about a flood on every single continent and all their stuff. So there's probably been a flood on
A
this
cleansing
planet.
of some sort.
Something.
A fallen angel like Jesus, or like not a fallen angel, but there's always a savior.
It's like same
In every
characters,
story,
same
there's a
characters,
savior.
different
Everything.
story.
Exactly. And then you look at what the main features are of the antagonists and the protagonists of every story that has been throughout cultures. And that's like how I've been, like, my thought process has been for my life. So, like,
But
yeah, dude.
The question is, who's the protagonist and who's the antagonist? Because
It could be the same person.
That's exactly what I was just gonna get to.
It's all
'cause
perception.
There's so many different things. I look at, bringing it back to Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock, and so basically the Mayans had this. Their history is there's a white man with blue eyes who's in white garb who just came out of nowhere, and he spoke fluently, and he helped them with their cultural development and their organizational government, and like so many different things, right? Well, and then I look at the LDS religion and I think, oh yeah, that sounds a lot like the Mormon religion, the Mayan history with I forget the name of the god now that they'd called him, but he was a white guy with like a beard and blue eyes, fair skin, came from the sea, spoke better than like the local dialect. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's like totally Mormon-y. But at the same time, it's like, but is it really, could it be something that's good, or could it have been something that was not so good?
Well,
like to me, that's what really trips me out. Being raised in the LDS religion and having that background, that's the way that I would relate that.
interestingly enough, I read a similar article, but it was the origin of like fear itself, because as a general consensus, like what you fear most or what you're conditioned to fear based on like you as a race. So I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was fascinating. It was like a couple thousand years ago, finding documents on like these pale skin, like very skinny beings with like soulless, like very white eyes and
Aliens, gray aliens.
really thin, like really thin hair, and they almost look like ghouls. And like that's like the origin of like something that's supposed to resemble fear, because that's something that was like killing the human race in waves.
Well, if you think about it, I think we are the missing link. And the only reason I say that is because if you strip us naked, take our clothes off, and you toss us in the elements, we don't survive.
Hell no.
How do you evolve? How would we have evolved like this? There's no way the human race, in my opinion, and I'm not a scientist by any means. I have no science background, but for me, it's like, how could the human race have evolved if we can't even survive in the elements more than 72 hours?
Well,
like, throw us naked out there, we fucking die.
Well, the thing with that, I see where you're coming from. Maybe as a race we were more driven towards mind versus might. So we were like us being a factor of wherever the hell we came from. Like that was our shtick. We were there to think, not do something physical. So like a kangaroo has powerful legs so it can jump, and a pocket in front of it to carry its child. We had the ability to grip things with our hands, to use our minds to communicate with each other and do something simple like building a fire or finding shelter. So maybe, I don't know, like where we fit into all of that, I'm not sure. Like it's like being prepared for something else.
I'm gonna let Logan take this one because I think him and I are on the same
Do you see what
level.
I'm saying though? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that's where it gets tricky as far as what we're taught. We're taught Darwinism in school, which is evolution. Well, here's the problem with that, is that on Darwin's deathbed, in his last words, he talked about how his theories were just theories. They weren't proven.
They weren't real.
They weren't real. And he was also a 33rd degree Mason and a bunch of secret society bullshit and all that stuff, right?
Oh shit!
If you look at knowledge as power, knowledge. If you have knowledge over somebody, you have power over that person.
You control them, like I was talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what you're saying correlates with this, as far as what we're taught in different scenarios in life, and how we're quote unquote programmed, and all that kind of stuff. Now, as far as what we're taught as where we come from and all this other type of stuff, it goes back to the same mindset, is that has been passed down from generation to generation since humans have entered this platform. And so you have fear instilled into humans so that we are controlled into a certain way.
Controlled by fear.
Here's the thing, is if evolution was never actually factual, it was just a theory, what could the possibility of our existence be? Where we were implanted here on this plane or this planet in order to do a task or learn or whatever it may be. But we definitely, like you were saying, are not from here because we can not survive the elements hand to hand without any type of protection. We have to use our mind to get clothes, weapons, all that type of stuff, and learn the positive and negatives of being here. If you walk into a thing, you get bit by a snake, you don't know if that snake's poisonous because you've never been taught that. Well, that's something that's information. Well, that information's downloaded genetically because all our DNA, it goes in DNA, which also Egyptians talk about DNA as well.
Yeah.
And splicing and mixing with different elements. So it could be possible where we're maybe from Mars because Mars has been disintegrated for a long time as far as an atmosphere.
And we have no actual predators over there except for the atmosphere not being livable.
So there's a possibility that a race or our descendants of a race were partially from Mars.
Sure.
And they were on their last limb and said, oh shit, well here comes Adam and Eve, our procreators, which are going to be a male and female or whatever. We're sending down this. Whoever's in charge, please take over and make sure that this race lives on one way or another.
Yeah.
So then you have the Garden of Eden where they found a certain point on this planet where they can thrive for a while and start
where they could
genetically modify to be able to handle the elements.
How about they just straight cloned Adam? I mean,
we're a piece of his rib technically.
That's what I'm saying.
But they cloned him. Like they took his rib and were like,
exactly.
Okay, if you guys want to go,
no spear fingers in that, son. Like that's science. That's science. 100%.
Exactly.
Like for real. And if you go to biblical terms, it says, "Let us make man in our image," and they broke the rib off Adam, which "us" means plural, and there's been no positive factual information on who the us is. People can say
it's God and the angels and
spirit and mind and all that stuff, but it's look at it more of a broader term. There could have been more than one creating man as far as genetics.
Totally.
And Christian is descendant of Egyptian philosophy and different stuff like that, just in a different term.
It's not necessarily saying that religion is wrong, but you're viewing in widescreen versus full screen. You're not seeing the full picture. So you're just kind of just cupping your ears and just saying la 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 la, don't want to deal with this because this is what I've always been taught to be true, and this is what I've based my living life upon.
Right.
So it's yeah, we're just gonna take in all this information and just disregard everything that we don't want everybody else to know. There could have been so much shit going on. Who knows? I don't know. What's more believable, finding fossils in rock or believing that a woman who had never been with a man bore a child and that child became the savior of the entire human race?
I'll probably go with the former rather than the latter. And the only reason I say that is because there's so many things that are out of place in history, right? I was mentioning earlier, it was like a hammer. And
yeah, the hammer that was
it was
very,
very 100, the purest form of iron.
before
They
like
ever-
tools
had ever
were
seen.
even invented, before that we know of,
Millions of years old.
before the written record that we have. That doesn't, just because like that's where humans are just so fucking stupid, is because if we don't have it on written record, it doesn't exist. What if we're not supposed to see that? What if that's like
We're
something?
told not to see it.
That's
What
like
if we're in the fucking Matrix, dog? That's literally every time I hear about this alternative history stuff, I'm like, dude, we're in a goddamn video game.
It's quantum. It's quantum
literally-
physics, bro.
It
somebody
is.
else is
I
controlling
have
what
not
we know.
been pre-programmed for this bullshit.
Exactly.
It pisses me off.
Like, it just
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, in quantum physics and different historical texts, they talk about this type of information just getting brought down to certain inhabitants of this planet at a certain point in time to bring this information over. You know what I mean? It's going
And-
to cause a lot of fucking problems.
Exactly, and it's there are certain groups of people that can see past the bullshit and understand like what actually is going on without being completely exposed to it, and those are the people that actually like they're renegades. They go against what other people believe, and that's what they don't want. That like society, people that are in control of the general populace don't want that. They want uniform, everybody following the same thing because you control them. At that point, people are just sheep, and then you control everything, which means you have all the power, and that's the drive for humanity, right? Is just to see who has the most power and who can like who can show off the most with what they have.
We are sheep, sadly. See it in the Bible.
So sorry, am
We
I going
really
too deep
are.
into this?
No, not at all.
We're
man.
really
This is what
we're
looking
already
for.
past the point of where we are fucked. So
Right.
like,
Mhm.
I
Like-
mean, I'm talking like the information. So
Like just listen, like even like music, because that's what we're all like. Us three and you in a way have literally based your life around entertainment. So instead of using entertainment as a tool to keep people blind to something that the guy holding all the power doesn't want you to see, we're using that to kind of fight back, using their own weapons against them, if that makes sense.
You should not have just said that.
God damn it, Scott.
Like not
Like
not
that-
just
I haven't
gotta
spoken
bleep
in a
that.
long time, but that's the one thing
Yeah,
I have to
you
say
got-
right now.
you gotta-
fool.
You gotta bleep that out, like hardcore.
Yeah.
Bleep what out?
They already probably heard it, but yeah, we can't like drop that information.
What did you drop? Sorry.
the
at
fact
35
that what
minutes.
we're like the music is, yeah.
It is though. We
No.
all know that the music is a governmental tool.
well look at
No,
like
no, I know, but he just dropped our plan and like some serious information that should
Oh.
not have been dropped.
Let me note
like,
that real
like just
well fine, I've got another story that correlates with this that has nothing to do with us that I can show you.
You're totally good. Keep talking, man.
Like
I'm
the
gonna
way that
talk
it
this
works.
off.
So think of, I remember I watched a video, this was a long time ago. It was a speech that David Draymond gave, and David Draymond is the vocalist for a really popular hard rock band called Disturbed.
Mhm.
And like the way I think about it is in this speech he's talking about fighting he keeps saying the same phrase, fight the war and use music as a weapon. And he's referring to like hate of other religions, because at the time we were like balls deep in the war in Iraq and Saddam Hussein and stuff like that. And just that's what, like, if you look at Disturbed's symbol, it's all four of the members are different like religious races. Like David Draymond himself was raised in a Jewish household. Like, so in their symbol they've got like the Star of David, they've got the crucifix, they've got the crescent moon of Islam, and then one other one, I think it was the symbol for the Church of Scientology or something of that sort. And like that's what he's trying to explain, is just use this as a tool against the people that are using it for the wrong reasons. That better?
Totally.
I'm in two of the squares, dude.
I'm trying to like fix this. Blake over here, get out. Dude, what was I gonna say? Sorry, you like Blake totally threw me off while I was fixing
Sorry.
these squares over here.
Sorry, dude.
Fuck, man.
using it for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, music and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think if you can be, do you think as an independent label, independently producing your own music, is there less risk with your personal opinion and your musical influence?
Yeah, and that's the thing though, is like with this world getting to the point with and the internet and stuff like that, is knowledge, like we were saying earlier, knowledge is power. So this is an ultimate war against what has backfired onto certain people that created it. You can take a piece of information from this fucking room right now and throw it over across the planet in less than a split second. You know what I mean?
Everything goes viral.
Everything goes viral or instantaneous, or someone's going to see it, and that could cause a problem. So if you have an event that happens on this planet, someone either dropping information, seeing a fucking UFO, fucking whatever it is, it could go to the point where that information is so scary and could go viral so quick, and so many people could see it, they can't contain it.
It could undo like everything that everybody thinks.
Have any of you seen an actual UFO?
Yeah, dude,
before?
I can go into that real quick.
That is something I really
twice.
don't want to discuss because it takes me to a pretty dark place in my life.
Yeah,
But I won't like discuss my own personal like run-in, but I'm more than welcome to listen to y'all's.
Whoa.
I'd have
That's
one I
fucking
definitely
dope.
can't talk about, which I've told you off air, which I shouldn't have said that. So if you want to mark that, but no, dude, I'll explain one incident that like kind of triggered.
I've just seen
series of events.
crafts. I don't have any like lost
Like that one
time.
you posted on fucking Facebook that one time was fucking crazy.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that it's like literally if you Google it, you see the exact same thing. I'm not the only person who's seen it, and that's not normal. That's not from this planet.
Because of my career choice when I first moved to Boise and the hours that I worked, I spent a lot of time in the middle of the night in the middle of the desert. Between here and Cuna, and like when I first moved here and like dealing with a whole bunch of other like emotional bullshit, leaving my home behind, stuff like that, and just I remember seeing like a craft in the distance with lights, and it was spinning, and like it was weird. It almost had like 3 levels, and like it was shaped like I thought it would be, like almost like a dinner plate in a way, but like the middle was spinning clockwise and the top and the bottom were spinning counterclockwise, and they had like lights. And then I look away for a second because I'm driving, and I snap my head back and it's gone. And it just, and then like from
like
that,
it wanted you to see it.
yeah. And at that, like, and I was, every time I drove past that same spot on my way to work, because I worked 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. 6 days a week for an extended period of time when I first moved here, before I met you guys. Like, I met these guys right after I just finished working that job. And I don't know, I always have an uneasy feeling just about that spot in particular when I drive by it. And occasionally I'll drive out there just to see, but never in the dark. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like I'll wait until it's like 3 in the afternoon and then cruise out there.
Just gone.
Just add it,
disappear.
like instant. Just no flash, no nothing. Like no big flash of light. Just I look, glance away, look back, gone.
That's what I had. That's exactly what I experienced. But what's weird is when I listen to other people's experiences, a lot of the times they say that they had a flash, and I'm like, but I didn't have a flash. Like I didn't see. It was literally there, and then I glanced away, and it was gone. I think I was on. Did I tell you my experience the last time I was on here with the helicopters and stuff? Did I tell you about that? I was driving home.
I haven't heard that.
Okay, so that's the one I posted online. I was driving home. It was like midnight, I think, and westbound on 84. And I saw this light in the sky, and I'm used to the sky. I'm used to seeing things because I take my dog out pretty much 5 nights a week. And when I take her out, I'm looking at the sky, letting her do her thing, run around and do lasers and shit like that, like the laser pen and stuff. And I'm very familiar with what's in the sky, what time it is. I've been doing this for 6-7 years. So I have full confidence that what I saw was not fucking fake. I'm driving home, westbound. It's midnight.
Like from
midnight
downtown?
30 from downtown. And I see this light in the sky, and it's brighter than the stars in the western sky that I'm used to seeing at that time of night. Because usually I take my dog out between 10 and 11, so I know what stars are in the sky. So an hour, maybe 2 hours, not going to be much of a difference as far as like the night sky. And I'm driving westbound, I see this light, and all of a sudden I see something just drop down, and it starts to blink, and it's red, and it just blinks and blinks. And I know the air traffic around there because, again, I live in western Boise, and I know where it wraps around to go into the Boise airport. It's right above my house. I hear it all the fucking time. It's literally above my house is where they whip around and they land. This is like the distance that they're at when they turn and they're in position to drop their landing gear and land at the airport. It's just the way it works out. And watching it, and I'm like, no fucking way. What is that? Because I'd seen some weird shit online before. Like, I've Googled UFOs, Boise, mountain home, like strange things, just, going down the rabbit hole. All of a sudden, I hear helicopters. And it's not like one or two. I have a brother who's an Apache pilot, and I've done a lot of like Apache pilot geeking online. I know what they sound like, and I know what like military force sounds like. I hear like 4 helicopters, and these were not like recon helicopters. These were definitely like to have a force. These were the presence. There's 4 westbound right over my head, and it's like between 12 and 1. I'm going to assume it's about 12:15 at this time. And I see this light. All of a sudden, there's no rebound, nothing. It literally goes from one point in the sky to the next point in the sky, and it moves. I see it. It doesn't like disappear and reappear. It moves. And that light is still beeping, and these helicopters fly over my head, and I'm watching this thing, and I'm not making the connection at the time. And all of a sudden, this thing moves from the sky, and I look over to change lanes, and boom, this thing's gone, dude. No light in the sky, nothing. Helicopters fly by, gone, silent, dude. 5 minutes later, you can't hear anything in the sky.
So
nobody would know that. How many people were on the road with me? Maybe 1 or 2 other like on the road within a quarter mile.
And
behind me,
are they actually paying attention?
Probably not.
Like they're too busy with what's going on around them. So where I grew up when I was like a little kid I was born in South Dakota, a town with 4,500 people-ish. And we had, like, my school system had the same teachers for years. Like, the same people that taught me taught my mother. And I remember when I was going to be a freshman, because I moved from South Dakota to Montana March of my freshman year of high school. I remember before I started my freshman year, my mom was like, yeah, I had your science teacher when I was a kid too. His favorite story is to talk about when he gets visited by aliens. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm in high school. I'm like, he's probably just doing it to get a rise out of kids, something like that. And he talks about this being because he's alone in his office one night doing schoolwork at like 9 o'clock at night, and he sees this being just directly in front of him in his office, and he looks at him. It looks at him. It just ignores his existence, and he just walks sideways, and it's almost like he's walking past a doorway, but it's in plain, like, open fucking air.
Like a hologram?
Yeah, just walks behind something in plain open air. Like, just disappears. Like if you walked past this hallway and I just stopped seeing you, like it just happened in thin air.
Whoa.
And then he's like describing the creature to me, and it's like to a T what I was describing to you earlier, the thin, skinny, pasty, soulless eyes, very thin white hair. And I remember back to when I was a kid, and like my first experience with that ever happened to me when I was a kid. We lived in a house like 3 houses down from my grandparents, and like right next to the high school. And I was in junior high, 5th, 6th grade, something like that. And I remember me and my brother lived in the basement because this house was huge. Like it was a $250,000 house, nicest house I've ever lived in my entire life. We only lived there for like a year, but like it had you walk downstairs and there's a giant ass day room about the size of your kitchen and your living room together. There's big French doors that go to like a half acre of backyard that's all a giant hill. And
It's more like $1 million home, dude. This house is more than $250,000, I'll tell you that.
Oh, exactly. But this house was massive.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I remember me and my brother slept in the basement, and I had this weird closet that was like it started at about that high, this like seat thing right here, and it was just open and it was kind of walk-in, right? And I had 2 shelves up on the top. And I remember one night I was laying in bed and I thought that my eyes were like bugging out because I'm looking in my closet and I'm like, those look like red eyes staring at me. And like, it doesn't matter how many times I blink, how many times I look away, because I thought it was like maybe I looked at something bright and you had like that black spot in front of your eye. I like, maybe that's it. So if I look over here, the light will follow me. Nope, didn't fucking follow me. So I'm sitting there freaking out. I'm like in 4th, 5th grade. I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. There's something in my room.
Yeah.
And it didn't move. The eyes just stayed locked on me. I fell asleep. I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and it was gone. It didn't bug me. It was just there. And then my second encounter, the one that I really don't want to talk about, was in Montana with something very similar in the home that I lived in when I was in high school. And it was just so fucking weird because it only happens when you're by yourself. So nobody believes you because there's no record of it. Nobody else saw it. It's just this uneasy feeling that sticks with you. I had nightmares forever about this, and it didn't hurt me. It was just there. I didn't see its body. Like I saw like a figure, like a pale figure, but I didn't see its body. I only saw its eyes. And it feels fucking weird just talking about it. Like I feel like I'm being watched just talking about it.
We talked about on our last conspiracy show about shadow people, because I've had my experience. I've been followed. I saw one last night, actually.
Like, well, just
really
talking about
fucking weird to say.
Just talking about this, I feel like I'm going to see something just tonight, because it's only when it's like fresh on your mind that you actually pay attention to it. So it's like maybe it's happening to us all the time, but we only pay attention to it when we want to. It's like picking something out that you're like desperately like paying attention to, like to dumb it down. Like if I'm going to sit there and focus
almost
on
like you're looking for it so you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly. Like looking for an imperfection just to be like overly nitpicky.
Yeah.
And it just sticks with you, and it feels weird.
How old were you when that happened?
4th or which one? The second one or the first one?
Both.
First one, I was in 4th grade. I was one of the youngest in my class, so either 9 or 10, 4th or 5th grade. High school, I was a sophomore, so probably 15.
And that's when you saw the figure when you're in high school?
Mm-hmm.
You know what is weird is I think figures manifest themselves for the most part in older people. And by older, I mean like probably once you hit maturity, like puberty.
I feel like they go with something more like that's when they come, like when they notice you, or that's what they portray themselves to be.
Well, I think maybe when you're going through all those hormonal changes, it's very possible that you might be a little more what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, sensitive to certain things.
Oh yeah,
and the only reason I say that is because when I first started having my like visions, like my happenings, I was pretty young. I was like 13 or 14. my younger brother, who I talked about earlier on a previous podcast, who had seen stuff, he developed at a younger age than I did. And by that I mean, like, he's like premature gray, so like he has like gray hair. He's had gray hair since he was like, I don't know, 15 or 16. So it would make sense that it's very possible maybe he had, like, you know, his chemical imbalance. And you know, when you're going through those stages in life, it's very possible that it messes with your perception of things. And I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but it seems like, for the most part, people who tend to be more sensitive and recognize this, the age tends to be closer to the time that they started going into like a puberty stage.
I get you. And like
almost like, and the only reason I say that is because if you think about your testosterone enhancement, when you think about naturally, in even like if you have unlimited testosterone, you'll be ginormous, like almost like a Bigfoot, right? And maybe you have certain types of sensitivities when those things kick in, like your DNA level. Maybe at your DNA level it's been suppressed on certain things so that you're not sensitive to those alternate dimensions, so that you don't enhance those things, because that's something that Hitler was going for. It was the ultimate soldier, right?
Yeah.
Being able to unlock the genes to create that ultimate soldier. And maybe he was onto something. And the issue was, they do not want us because we are a genetically modified race versus a natural inhabitant of this of this land.
I don't believe that Hitler was a great man. I believe that he was brilliant. I believe that his morals were a little fucked up, obviously, but I also know that history is written in the eyes of the victor. So I'm pretty sure if Hitler would have succeeded with what he was doing and like did a complete global takeover and a whole rebirthing process, if you will, we would look at him the same way that we look at like George Washington.
Is
Probably.
there a possibility that maybe he didn't not fail? Maybe he did succeed and we just don't know about it, like we've talked about before, and like all that kind of stuff. We've taken all of their scientists and brought them over, and boom, we got the atom bomb and all this other shit.
Exactly.
Like there's definitely hidden a lot more stuff than what they've taught. But I want to go back to where you were talking about, like, if we had unlimited testosterone, or if we had some kind of way where, because back in the day we weren't living as long, or like we'd be like freaking giants or like massive and all that kind of stuff. There's actually people on this planet as we speak that are taking young blood from young humans and putting it in their bodies to sustain and live, because there's a certain chemical or whatever, genome or whatever, and they talk about this on the Joe Rogan. And I can't remember what her name
Musk.
is. No, this is
Mel
different
Gibson
chick.
even talks about it.
Yeah,
okay.
there's a different chick who comes in there and
It's been proven,
super
though.
smart. It's
With,
proven.
Like, is it mice or rats or something?
They do it with mice and rats.
Similar to like stem cells, right?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Essentially, and so basically what the young blood does is it takes over that chemical in what is developed in like older people, or like when you get older. The reason why you get old and die is because you have this genome that kicks in or is developed that allows you to die off.
Everything like degrades, and everything like evaporates and like breaks down, essentially.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to reverse that process.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
at least slow it down. Stop it.
Yeah. From what my understanding was, is that it sustains. So this guy is like way older than what he looks like, because he's been injecting himself with freaking young blood. Like that goes into vampiristic shit. Like,
oh yeah, that's
it goes in and ties into a bunch of stuff. And so if you have people that are political figures that are doing this shit, that's another way to maintain power for a long time. If they don't freaking die, then what the hell?
Yeah.
You
I
know what I
know.
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So Butch Otter, if you're listening to this, stop taking that blood, bro.
And
like,
quit
it's
tapping
time.
the fucking bottom of the stalls. That wasn't Butch Otter. That
Who
was
was
the other
that?
guy.
That was some dude from Idaho, though. Gave Idaho a bad rap, dude.
Man.
Quit being so queer, homie. It's all good.
It's 2018. It should be
See,
accepted.
I'm-
right now.
I'm from-
just hop on Grinder, dude. Nobody fucking cares.
I don't know. I'm from Montana. The only thing people talk about from there is like the Unabomber,
Yeah.
or fucking Evil Knievel was born in Butte.
Oh, that's right.
That's really the only exciting shit we got going for us.
Does that mean he was like, no, this is a bad joke. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
Does this mean like he was like the most famous redneck? 'Cause
Pretty
he
much.
did a bunch of stunts like no
Literally-
one else wanted to do.
Exactly. Like beat Larry the
Except
Cable
Travis
Guy by a
Pastrana has
mudslide.
completely destroyed everything Evil
I know,
Knievel's
but he's
done.
been
even-
oh, this is too soon.
Oh, dude, and like
Travis Pastrana's been successful though.
He's so good at
actually
everything
like
he
surviving.
does.
Then survived all of
Yeah,
this
but
shit
he
he's done.
like Travis Pastrana's got
Wait,
like
where
the
is he from though?
Who, Travis?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's a California kid.
See, that doesn't
Saturn.
count. He's not redneck, dude.
don't know.
Venus. He's from Venus.
Dude, don't get me started
Lives
on this
underneath the
shit.
surface.
There's so much stuff I want to talk
we didn't even
about. but I
talk about
can't.
the flat Earth and.
Dude, we were talking about the Earth a little bit and vortex and portals and stuff, and that kind of ties in with it. But I don't know.
Let's do it another night.
Can people
let's do it
really
next
handle
weekend.
that much?
Well, we're gonna do it.
In one
we're gonna do
sitting.
it next weekend. Cause
We just talked
I-
about too much shit.
Dude.
Blake had to leave the room because we talked about so much shit.
I'm kind of pissed that I missed this last one, bro. This is kind of like fun getting this like off your chest
tickles
and
your
shit.
brain a
I
little bit,
know.
man.
The
It's-
problem
it's
is
good.
we got to be careful on how much
Absolutely.
information.
Absolutely, like I just
If I got feds raiding my home, I think that's a good thing, because then I can just broadcast and be like, "Yo, check
What
out how cool
up?"
we are."
just
We're tapped all over the place, dog.
oh, dude.
I'm
don't
not
get me
suicidal,
started.
by the way. So anybody who's listening to this, if you find me with a fucking telephone cord around my neck, you'll realize that A, I don't have a fucking telephone, and B, I wouldn't commit suicide. So.
It's like, well, it's like, remember when we were talking about Post Malone?
All right. Apparently, Post Malone has warned about his situation.
No, since the last update that you've talked about,
Dude,
Well,
it's
because
So
he was kind of
basically,
like giving out information.
And like in one of his songs, he has given a clear warning sign that someone's after him. Something is after him, right? And his freaking I don't know how recent. I can't remember if it was like within the last year or 2 years, but he was on his private jet, and all of a
it was
sudden
less than a month ago, dude.
less than a month ago. His tire on his jet blew up as soon as they went off and took off
So they had to do an
out
emergency
of
landing.
nowhere, like brand new
Brand fucking
brand
plane.
new jet, dude.
But
And they had to do a bunch of maneuvers and all this crap in order he
to
survived
save his life.
to save his life, right?
He survives.
He survives.
And
then
then-
a week later,
car accident.
he gets hit on the driver's side.
Yeah.
In a car accident. It is one of his vehicles.
But he survives.
But
So,
he survives.
like, it's obviously he knows something that somebody doesn't want to
These
get
are
out.
like warnings.
So if you ask my opinion, I think that even though he's a very medicated man, it's very clear. Just listen to him talk. But honestly, I wish no harm on the guy at all. But if he overdoses in the next couple of years,
Oh, weird. Like the other people.
it's weird how like convenient it'll be that another musician overdoses. Nobody really thinks about that because you've got people like Chester Bennington committing suicide and Kyle Pavone from We Came as Romans and
oh
Mac-
shit, I heard
Mac
yeah, that's
Miller,
right.
bro.
Mac Miller, dude. All
Are
these-
these all people who like were kind of getting out a message?
Well, dude, Mac Miller's one of his main songs is Donald Trump, bro.
Mhm.
And there's a
Wow.
lot of like, I don't want to say it, but Trump's opponent in the beginning, bro, and the whole family.
Oh,
It's-
Bunch
There's
of
a-
hush hush stuff going
There's
on with that family.
some of the
bro.
some of the dirtiest families in the history of the U.S. are political office families.
yeah,
Straight up, like
Yeah.
look at the Kennedy family. If you believe in like the conspiracy theories behind Marilyn Monroe
Oh,
and like
how she was gonna release a bunch of UFO shit.
and she was conveniently overdosed.
Conveniently
Like,
overdosed.
but and people think like the FBI and shit. And
Or you go as far as the Queen and Princess Diana
Oh,
get freaking car wrecked.
dude, so
Don't
I
even-
look, dude. Oh my god!
don't even get me started on the Queen, man. That like she's outlived Hitler, bro. Outlived Stalin, like Gaddafi, Castro. Like obviously there's something going on there, and it's like well, I know you know about it because we've talked about it plenty, but the royal you know what, with like the history behind like the how do I say this without it just coming straight out, the royal history of like the pure people.
She figured out what really runs this earth, and
She drank the Kool-Aid, bro.
no, she didn't drink the Kool-Aid. That's the problem. She found the secrets out of the family, and she was getting ready to expose it.
Oh, I was talking about the Queen. You're talking about Princess Diana.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about all that, but dude, it has involved with the same family.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go into conspiracy. We'll just call it conspiracy.
We'll speak on what we can without a target being on our head when we leave this building.
There's been a conspiracy of a lot of children going missing after going into the royal family's dome,
Mm-hmm.
or the palace and the castle and shit, and getting like, imagine you're in school and you're all of a sudden, oh hey, you're going to go meet the president of your country, and you're going to go ahead and walk through and look at what goes at. But all of a sudden, one of your classmates goes missing,
Yeah.
and you don't know it because you're young. That's the allegations and the freaking accusations, I should say, that are being thrown towards the royal family and the Queen of England, saying that she is using these children for different various types of stuff.
Not a smart move. At least when Michael Jackson did it, he gave the kids back.
This is true.
Right.
Too soon was that?
No, not even too soon.
But yeah, that's a talk on the street, I guess
Oh,
you could
yeah.
say. But
Convenient how it just happens.
Yeah.
but it has to go with a lot of different backgrounds, and a lot of people say other people are crazy for thinking that, but
Well,
there's a lot more to it. Everything's crazy.
I think everything's crazy, and you like, I don't know. I think as things, as far as like as we progress, we'll see a lot of different things pop up when we're like, that was probably a sign where
Yeah.
it's very possible that that person, family, or institution was definitely involved in something a little conspiratorial.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, we're gonna wrap this up. Let's get
Okay.
you guys out of here. It's been a little over an hour. Had a fucking blast.
We really need to talk about stuff like this more
yeah,
often.
let's do it, man. Every weekend I got an open house. So, everybody listening, make sure that you subscribe. You give us 5 stars. Share the episode because you want to share the episode. But anyways, much love. Thanks for tuning in, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank
Thank you,
you
bro.
guys.